Well, here I am. This is a place called Harnish Wayside Park. It's in Eagle Point. It's a place I like to come to think. It's really peaceful here, really beautiful, and it's a nice place to come eat a sandwich. You know, today is kind of a special day. It's September 11th, 2012, and I've never done a 9/11 video before, so I just thought I'd sort of just reflect on it a little bit, think about it while I'm sitting here eating my sandwich. I remember where I was 11 years ago. I was living with my mother then in Medford, Oregon, and well, I was going to community college. I was studying to be a journalist, and I was still asleep, and my mother woke me up in the middle of in the morning. She told me that a plane had crashed into the World Trade Center. She thought it was an accident, and I was kind of disoriented, kind of bleary-eyed, you know, fumbling around, looking for the TV, the remote, turning the TV on, you know, trying to figure out what happened. I mean, and I was thinking, okay, what kind of a plane hit it? Was it like a little Cessna, or a little, like a commuter plane? Was it just one pilot? Did you fly off course, have a heart attack or something? And so you can imagine my horror, my shock when I learned that it was a commercial jetliner, that it was not an accident. The plane deliberately flew into the World Trade Center tower, and so that was really horrible. And we didn't really have a whole lot of time to process that before another plane, another jetliner struck the other tower. You know, I can remember it very clearly. Thinking about what the passengers must have been going through on that flight, on those flights. A total of 4 planes were hijacked that day. Two of them crashed into the World Trade Center, and one crashed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and yet another aircraft was hijacked, and it went down somewhere in Pennsylvania, some field. I think that the consensus was that the plane that had went down in Pennsylvania was headed for perhaps the White House, maybe Washington, D.C., somewhere, the Capitol buildings, and passengers intervened on that flight. They prevented the terrorists from crashing the plane into their intended target. I only wish that the other planes would have missed as well. I mean, the people on the planes would have been killed anyway, regardless, but it would have eliminated the casualties on the ground and in the towers. Anyway, back to what I was saying about what they must have been thinking. I go over that every year. You know, when you're on this plane, you're happy at first because nothing's wrong. You know, maybe you're going to a wedding, or maybe you're going to your job, or maybe you're just going on vacation somewhere. And then suddenly you realize that your plane is being hijacked. Say there's a bomb on board. Maybe they start firing shots on the plane. It must have been really, really terrifying for them. I mean, on 9/11 especially, I like to make a point of going out and doing something ordinary. You know, not nothing special. I don't have to go out and spend a ton of money, dress up fancy, do something memorable. Just, you know, this is what America's all about. You know, go to a park on a sunny day and have a picnic. You know, don't talk to yourself like I'm doing unless there's a camera in front of you or people are going to think you're nuts. But this is really a wonderful country. You know, you don't have to be wealthy, although money does make you comfortable. It doesn't buy happiness. I can attest to that. I'm not rich by any means, but I am comfortable. I do have a nice job. It pays okay. And I'm happy. I'm not as happy as I could be. I mean, I'm 33. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. At some point along the way, I kind of lost my focus a little bit. But anyway, today is really just about remembering the people who died on September 11th, 2001. They were murdered. They're all murder victims. Okay? And the people who killed them are extremists. They happen to be Muslim, but it's not the Muslim faith that did them in. I want people to understand that Muslims are not evil, okay? Any more than Christians are evil. But there will be a few Christians that go out and do evil things. You know, there is a difference. And in this case, it was a few extremists, and they weren't doing it for their religious beliefs. I think that they use their power and their wealth to prey on others, to victimize them, and to dominate them. See, if they had their way, we would all be probably under their control. So they don't like freedom. They don't like freedom of thought. They don't like freedom of expression. And this would kill them. Just have somebody in a park eating a sandwich, just mind his own business. That would not sit well with Al-Qaeda. And I would like to say that in the years since the attacks, their influence, the Taliban's influence, Al-Qaeda's influence has been diminished to some extent, particularly after Osama bin Laden was killed. Now I'd like to talk about that as well. That's important, that's significant. You know, he wasn't killed right after 9/11. It would have been more, I think, more poignant, more significant if he had been killed and brought to justice, maybe even faced a tribunal of sorts, you know. But he was killed. They found out where he was. Somebody did. And our government went in there and found out where he was hiding, and they killed him. You know, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. There are conflicting reports. Some people think that bin Laden was, in fact, unarmed, and that he was caught unawares. But others, the official report is that he in fact had access to weapons, and that he was using his wives as a human shield. And so really, I'm not anti-government at all. I have no reason not to trust them. You know, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists. A lot of people think that 9/11 was planned by the United States government to begin with. And a lot of people still think that bin Laden's alive somewhere. After all, there were no photographs taken of his death, which is unusual. Even somebody had managed to take a photograph of Saddam swinging from his rope. But I think there are photographs out there of bin Laden, and perhaps someday they'll surface. My camera ran out of batteries while I was at the park, so I'll have to finish this in here in my home. Anyway, I was talking about bin Laden and how the fact that his body was never photographed, so we don't really know for sure that he's dead. We're taking the government's word for it. which I'm perfectly willing to do. I don't really buy into these other conspiracies either. I'm glad that son of a bitch is dead. I want to get that point across, and I don't blame George W. Bush for 9/11, President Bush. I don't blame Barack Obama for anything. I'm glad that terrorists die. It's too bad that they can't be brought to justice, but to each his own. They believe in death, so we're just giving them a dose of their own medicine. Today is a day of remembrance, and we look back on it with an air of melancholy. I do, especially. Even though I'm not from New York, I'm just from Oregon, but we are the United States, and so everything that happens in New York or anywhere else in the United States happens here in Oregon too. We feel the pain that they feel. Here's what I want you to do. Anyone who's watching this, I want you to go find a loved one. I don't know if it's your parents or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, whatever. Tell them you love them, because we don't know how much time we have. The people on those planes, they had no idea that their life was going to end on that day, September 11th, 2001. There were people from all walks of life on those aircrafts, inside the World Trade Center and in the Pentagon. They were just doing their jobs. And then, just in the blink of an eye, they were gone. Some 3,000 people were killed that day. And so I couldn't let this day go by without remembering them, without acknowledging them. And I hope that those of you who are watching this don't find this film to be inappropriate or offensive. After 11 years, I'm not suggesting that we forget September 11, but it seems like we've become paranoid and fearful. It seems like we don't trust each other anymore. If you take anything away from this video, let it be this. Life is precious. Seize the day. Okay? Take risks. Summon up the courage to do what you've been afraid to do. I mean, as long as it's legal, don't hurt anybody. But don't be afraid to live. Don't be afraid to enjoy life. I'm proud to be an American, and so should you. Thank you, and God bless.